I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Okay, it's recording.
Great. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Department of Consumer Protection Plumbing and Piping Work Examining Board. This is a special meeting for May 19, 2021. At this time, it's 9:06. We're going to proceed with the meeting. At this time, I would like to swear in Lance Hall to the Plumbing Piping Board. At this time, I would like to have David Cousins, please, our attorney for the state of Connecticut, DCP, please swear in Mr. Hall at your convenience, sir.
Very good. Good morning, board. My name is David Cousins. I'm the acting legal director for the Department of Consumer Protection. I'm a member of the State Bar for Connecticut. So I'm a commissioner of the court, so I'm allowed to take an oath. And now I'd like to swear in Mr. Lance Hall. Mr. Hall, could you raise your right hand, please? So good morning. And Mr. Hall, do you solemnly swear and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, your duties as an unlimited journey person board member for the Plumbing and Piping Work Examining Board to the best of your abilities, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do, yes.
Thank you. Congratulations. You are sworn in.
Thank you.
Thank you. I return it to Mr. Appleby.
Thank you, Attorney Cousins, for taking the time of your day to do this.
No problem. Glad to do it
for us. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Hall. Welcome to the Plumbing Piping Examining Board.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Lance.
Thank you.
It's nice to have further board members join our board. At this time, we all know why we're here. A couple of reasons, obviously important is Mr. Hall, but we're here to discuss a well variance over in Old Lyme on 14 Delta Avenue in my area of Old Lyme. And myself, I believe, because I have evidence to the case of this well, including Aaron Nachbar, our board member, well drilling of record, has also looked into this matter as well. So the AG, Raul Rodriguez, who is with us this morning, thank you, Raul, for last minute being here this morning, may or may not allow certain ones of us to be able to vote because we have got some evidence in reference to this particular, I don't want to call it a case, but an exemption to support the family here of getting water for their home. We may begin, if it's okay with you, Mr. Rodriguez, if I could have Mr. Nachbar, the board well drilling of record, discuss the situation.
Yes, but first, Mr. Chair,
yes,
it's not me allowing or not allowing. It's just an ethical obligation, and as part of the board members, you make your own decision whether you want to vote or not. It was my understanding that at the last board member meeting, a board member was appointed to go and investigate the facts of the case and get some records back from the town of Old Lyme. In that case, when that happens, generally that board member would recuse themselves because they're not unbiased. You guys are board, you're supposed to be unbiased judges of what comes before you. Now, this is not taking away somebody's license. There's no penalty, whatever else, but it's your ethical obligation to make your own determination. If you had did it yourself, or if you just had a nonchalant conversation with someone and said, well, that really was an investigation. Someone came up, and before I could say, don't talk to me about it, they started talking about it. So you would determine your quorum, how many people you have, and then determine, the recusal of Mr. Knockblock and yourself, if you were so inclined, and if you have a quorum to continue with the vote.
thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Does everybody have any further questions for Mr. Rodriguez at this time before we start the discussion? Okay, not seeing any. I don't have any hands up here. Mr. Nachbar, you want to give us an overview of what was discussed with the town that you had looked into for the board?
Sure, Chuck. Started with speaking to the homeowner, Nick, Menga, I believe was his name. He described the process that he's been going through trying to get a replacement well. He didn't provide all the details that I did obtain from the Ledge Light Health Department, primarily that there had been a septic repair without any permits, basically an illegal septic repair. I think in 2016, I submitted the documents. They should be somewhere in record. And that was the basis of Ledge Light's denial of, well, I don't even know if they outright denied the permit, but they just haven't acted on the permit for the new well because of the septic issue. The sanitarian wanted to see a code compliant septic analysis done, and under a replacement septic, if it's done with the approval of the health department, under that process, there's a process for a well exception if the well is too close to the septic. And so that's where it all fell apart for the health district. It made a little more sense when I saw all the information. It then falls back to us whether we actually have the ability to approve a well exception too close to a septic system, less than 75 feet from a septic, without the approval of the local health district. The local health district then falls under the Commissioner of Public Health. The Commissioner of Public Health could compel the local health district to approve the permit if they feel there are extenuating circumstances. There is an exclusion in our, in the 25, I think it's 128 code that we have, that that's a remedy for people with undue hardship. I guess it's up to the board to decide whether these folks are experiencing undue hardship. And then we could, as a board, make a decision. But I still think that and correct me if I'm wrong, I still think the Commissioner of Health is going to have to either give his approval or compel Ledge Light Health District to approve the permit. Not sure if any of that made any sense. But
I'm looking at the, Aaron, I'm looking at the water analysis. Did you get a copy from the town or from the Mangas in reference to the water quality that they are currently having to drink at this point?
I have seen the water analysis. Mr. Manga stated to me he had bottled water to consume. The pH is very low, as you all know, in that area, and the water quality is not great. Shallow aquifer adjacent to that lake, pretty common, manganese and low pH. Granted, the water quality is atrocious.
And there's no E. coli in this water as well. So we have a coliform level, which is too numerous to count, which is basically everybody, it's basically a water test that's taken, it's put into a Petri dish, and there's so many spores that grow in a Petri dish over a period of 24 hours. So the relevancy of this with a local lab was too numerous to count. So that said, it would require treatment and a UV filter to eliminate that. However, the area down there in Rogers Lake has a problem with water table. Every few years, and I'm not sure if it's 3 to 5, it's been a while since I lived in Old Lyme, but they would drain the lake through a dam at the end so people could work on their properties, on their walls, their sea-walls around the entire Lyme and Old Lyme areas. And what happened was the Mangas got caught up last year because they have a shallow well, the water table is dropped, And in my history, 40 plus years with my family business in Oline, based in Oline with well work in this area, there's only 2 or 3 feet of water. So it's hard for a family to be able to satisfactory supply enough water per day to take care of a small family. So with that said, I'd like to see what the recommendations of our well driller of record, Mr. Nachbar, would be as far as the distancing and the location of the proposed new well. If I could ask you, Mr. Nachbar, to talk about that.
I believe the proposed well location is an improvement over what they have. And I think that any improvement, given the non-conforming nature of the lot, any improvement is enough to allow them to drill a new well. I think the homeowners, by not doing a proper septic repair, created a situation for themselves that's made this more difficult for them to get a well. As far as approval of the well location, I have no problems with it. Does not appear to be any interference on any adjoining lots with the proposed well permit. And then from that aspect, I think it's safe, and I think it would be safe for us to approve that.
And you have spoken to the well driller of record that applied for this particular permit, number 271541 from, it's the well drilling permit from the town of Old Lyme Ledgelight Health District. You have spoken with the well driller, looks like Bobby Robert Sema, or RJ in the office there, who is, his name is Raymond Vizzelli. He is the administrator of the SEMA Well Drilling Company in the office there. So there's been correspondence there as well, just so everybody knows who that is in these correspondence letters. And how does Mr. SEMA feel drilling the well in the location that he has proposed for us, just for the record?
Robert Sima, and as well, I spoke with Larry Sima. They feel that that's the safest place for them to set up a rig and drill a well, and that's up to the well driller to make his judgment as for the safety of his equipment and the construction of the borehole. It's pretty close to the property line. They needed to do a little. I think they needed to do a little verification to make sure they're really on the lot. And that's going to be up to the homeowner, I think, to provide that the lot line is really the lot line.
That makes sense. Obviously, we don't want to put this well in a neighbor's property and have it come back. So I think that should be part of a motion that that should be addressed, that the well has to be on the owner's property. Obviously near where the Sima family have probably ran a wood stake in the yard, proposing the location with it. So I think that should be part of the motion going forward to everybody, if they agree.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question for clarification?
Sure, please, Joyce.
Am I understanding that if this new well is drilled at the proposed location, that the quantity of water will improve, but the quality won't improve because of its proximity to the septic?
Well, what's happened, I looked at the water sample coming out currently on a shallow well above the ledge. And Mr. Nachbar can agree with me or not, but there's currently no nitrate content here. The levels are far below anything that shows any septic entering the shallow well now. So if we drill a well and we go into bedrock and we drill 10 feet into the casing into that and detonate it, it's to me a better source of water. We're not going to know the quality of the water until the well is actually drilled. We're going from a shallow well to a drill well. Anything can change. However, this is now going to supply them with enough water to be able to take care of their family. We're trying to provide them a flow rate of water, a yield, they call it in the term, the trade term, to allow them to have satisfactory flow. At that point, water testing again will be performed to make sure that the treatment systems are there, that there is no coliform in the new well, there is no nitrate content there, and they can install a particular filter if required there.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense, Mr. Nakbar? Am I overstepping my bounds?
Not at all. There were no nitrates present. It does not show any indication of connection to septic at this time. The new well will be considerably deeper. It may or may not be in bedrock, but it will be of adequate yield for the people. That's the goal. It probably will require treatment, as you've indicated, and also Sima, who's familiar with the area. Water quality over there is rough, no matter where you are. Going forward, they may, they're going to need to probably locate a code compliant waste treatment water system to accept the backwash from the treatment on the new well. That's going to be another issue that the local health will have to wrestle with on that lot.
Sorry, can I just jump in here? It's Cynthia. Can I just ask a quick question?
Please, Cynthia, how are you this morning?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So I'm just looking, I'm looking at the regs at 25/128/41 on the location of the well. And I know that, this is what we're talking about and that's the real issue here, but how do we get around, it's very clear that the local health officer shall, approve the location of a well. So I know that, there's the exemption in the 25/128/63, I think, with, giving a variance for undue hardship, but it's pretty clear that the local health officer's approval has to, come into play before that can be determined. So how do you, intend on going about that? Or would you guys approve it and then it's pending the local health officer, or how would that work?
Well, we're gonna still continue to talk about that, but at this time, Cynthia, if you could hold on, we have two questions from two board members. Maybe they're going to answer those questions. I'm
Okay.
not sure, but we'll start with Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Appleby. I do have two questions. One, is it true, maybe Attorney Rodriguez can answer that. Is it true it has to go to the public health director for approval on this system, like it was stated earlier in the meeting? And number two, is it going to affect any other wells in the area or septic systems in the area? Like we had that instance up in Woolkit last year or the year before. Those are my two questions.
That question was directed, Mr. Bowman, towards the Attorney General, Mr. Rodriguez.
Or one of the attorneys that are here today.
Okay. All right, that's out there. Let's go to Vinny now and see if what Vinny Valenti, board member, has to say.
My question was, is the coliform related to the lake location and just a common thing in that neighborhood?
I would probably be able to answer that better, Vinny. A lot of the wells there shallow wells do have this bacteria issue because they're not vented. A lot of times the casings aren't grouted properly. They were installed prior to well drilling codes that were in the 60s. A lot of these were cottages with dug shallow wells, less than typically 25 feet. Usually that area is about 18 feet in depth. Just to give you last May, we had one, too numerous to count. I brought in the casing, extended it, grouted it properly. Had, again, bacteria, no nitrate. We extended it. My recommendation was to keep it because the fact that drilling a well is awfully difficult. The water analysis was a low pH, however, very minimal iron and manganese at a high level, which I was concerned about if we did drill in that neighborhood because of past experience with customers in the past. So with that said, Yes, there is a bacteria issue, but proper disinfection, cleaning of a well properly, digging out organic material, allowing Clorox bleach disinfection to take place over time, and repeated pump out of those wells can clear up some issues. However, those issues can return yearly. So it's always recommendation by our company to have your water tested once a year for potability. If it does return after a certain amount of time, it becomes a point where we put in a 5-micron cartridge filter, followed by a UV filter, which is in the manufacturer's instructions, and any other treatment as well to solve high levels of different issues. So, but yes, the coliform is predominantly in that area. Yes.
So all that being said, a deeper well, properly cased, is a safer well.
In my experience, again, I'm not a well driller, but I do test a lot of wells in Oline. I've got folders like you can't believe, and I would agree to that wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Jay Moore, you have a question, sir.
You're muted.
Apologize. Can you hear me now? Yep, sorry about that.
Gotcha. No problem,
So-
Jay. We got you.
So I'm not a well expert, but I just want to clarify from Mr. Knockber that, and I understand that's his area of expertise. If the new well is drilled deeper, installed properly, and it is filtered properly, the water, and it is sanitized properly, this well will be safe for this family to use, consume, and drink.
More than likely, if it's constructed properly, the aquifers that are encountered when we drill can always contain bacteria. It's not a given that you're going to drill a deep well and get acceptable water. Once there is enough quantity, water treatment in anything in the water can be treated as long as there's enough quantity. As far as coliform bacteria, it's fairly simple to treat with filtration and ultraviolet, and it'd be a safe source for the folks to use. As far as manganese and iron and other things that you can run into in places, that it's a little bit more complex, where you need backwashing filters and you need the quantity of water to clean those filters.
So once this well's drilled, the recovery rate will be tested, the quantity, and they will be advised on what they need to do to filter this water and make it safe for consumption.
That's correct. That's part of the drilling process. You drill your depth. The depth of your well is related to the gallons per minute that you encounter, so that it's sized properly per code, and that's up to the licensed well driller to do that. So it's an adequate source.
Thank you.
And getting back to the question, I'm not sure if it was Mr. Bowman's question or not, in reference to or not Mr. Knockbar's, about the if a softener is required for ion exchange, a dry well would have to be installed in the yard, in the property, 10 feet away from the property line, obviously 10 feet away from any part of the septic, 75 feet away from the well, which we're not going to see. However, if everybody remembers back in 13 or 14, when the DEP came to our board meeting with a member of the Department of Health in reference to these dry well vessels that they want to put in to keep the sodium and salts, potassiums, and what have you away, we had, in the legislation, we, as a plumbing board, we voted to allow the sanitarian to reduce the distance from the 75 feet to allow this type of treatment, disposal of the water with the sodium and the potassium chloride in it into a approved dry wells based on the flow rate of the filtration equipment. Currently, it's 1.5 times the backwash cycle of a filter. So then it's sized accordingly with different products that are on the market today. Again, each municipality or in this case, a health district would look at the soils, approve the soils, allow you to put the dry well in to an as-built specification. They'll come out and inspect it. So, but we used, and I used during our meeting in 13, these neighborhoods of Rogers Lake in Oline that don't meet the 75-foot separation between well and septic. There's typically 50 feet on some of these. And I brought that up in the meeting. So that's why the board voted back then to allow the sanitarian to make the judgment call to support the consumer to have drinking water. If we didn't allow that, they couldn't drink their water. They could have a well with all the quantity in the world, but they're not going to be able to drink it well because they couldn't treat it. Well, we as a board years ago voted and allowed this. So I'm not going to beat that up anymore. But again, the sanitarian would allow the homeowners to hire a company to come in and perform that work under a permit issued by the health district once the water treatment analysis came through, if it's required. Thank you.
I have a question for Rich. Is he still on here?
He was here.
He was there, yeah.
Yeah, he was.
I see Cynthia Fernandez. I see Pamela Brown. We had Jerry Padula here just a little while ago as well. Richard was here.
Maybe Mr. Rodriguez can answer my question. As far as we have the ability to approve a well permit under DCP, do we have the ability to approve the drilling activities that don't meet the health code?
What I can tell you is under 25-133, which is exemption,
Yes.
as where the board finds that compliance with all requirements of this chapter or regulations adopted pursuant thereto would result in undue hardship, exemption from any one or more of these requirements may be granted by the board, subject to the approval of the Commissioner of Consumer Protection, to the extent necessary to ameliorate such undue hardship, and to the extent such exemption can be granted without impairing the intent or purpose of this chapter. And what the board I would recommend does is you have a motion and a vote, and to the best of your ability, clarify why you're approving this hardship exemption, so that a letter can be written to the commissioner or acting commissioner stating why you approved it. You know, the other way is that you could distill all the questions and comments that everyone has made during the meeting, but it's easier when you send your approval to the commissioner if you put some thought into why you are approving it.
Okay. And you're familiar with 25-137?
No, I'm not. I don't have it in front of me.
It stated basically nothing in the chapter shall be construed to affect or limit the duties and powers of the Department of Public Health or local directors of health in matters relating to the purity, potability, and safeguarding of well water, or to derogate from the powers of the public health. So we're allowing them to, we override them, allow them to reduce the separating distance from a well to a septic. I thought that was infringing on 25-137.
Well, as I understand, this is not the first time the issues come up before the board. There was a prior two hardship exemptions that were given back in 2017
By the board.
by the board.
Our board.
Yes.
And they were they were they approved along with the blessing of the health department, or did they say DCP can go rogue?
As far as I know, they're just approved and I don't know what happened afterwards.
The wells got drilled and people moved on. That's probably what happened.
There was
Thank-
no further any discussion, Mr. Nachbar, to the plumbing board after we allowed those that was a December 7th, 2017 meeting. It's in the minutes of our board. Here it is. Two wells were 1414 Spindle Hill Road in Wolcott. The other one was 10 Cedar Avenue in Wolcott. They were in the minutes of the December 7th, 2017 minutes of the plumbing board. And one of them I don't think was allowed. However, the one that was in the basement of a home that was drilled, or excuse me, probably pounded prior, it was ledge.
Yep.
And I think Mr. Bowman knows the area up there pretty well, that there were issues up there. And I think he spoke with the health district up there to, I forgot her name, Chris, could you, do you remember?
Esposito, Maura Esposito.
Laura.
That's who it was. Thank you. And I believe, obviously that would have been an issue with her because we did bring her into the meeting to discuss how we could work this out. She did discuss the plans and the layouts, separation distances with us as well, I believe at the time. So I think that basically, if we approve this, that we send it, obviously we have to have a letter. I'm not sure how the department handled that letter for us in 17, but whatever the department had to do, I think should follow practice today. Why should we change something we did in 17 today, right? So I think we should follow the same protocols we did and allow the well to be drilled and to send the information to the health district to approve the well, the permit to go forward.
Again, Mr. Chair, it has to be approved by the Commissioner of Consumer Protection.
Correct. But what we say today, how we vote, then that can go up the ladder, sir, I believe. And we don't have any say after what our agreement is today. I mean, basically, it's up to the commissioner at that point. So, yes, you're right. Does anybody else have any questions for this, or are we ready for a vote? Jay Moore, please.
Okay, I think I'm ready to make a motion. I have a decision, my personal self, that I've made.
Thank you, sir.
So go ahead and make my motion.
Please.
Based on the information given today on our well expert, Mr. Nachbar. And I'd like to follow past precedent from 2017. I'd like to make the motion under state Connecticut statute 25133. The Connecticut DCP Plumbing Board grants a hardship exemption to allow the local sanitarian to sign the permit at said home at 14 Delta Avenue, Old Lyme, Connecticut, with the provision the well must be placed on the property of 14 Delta Avenue.
Second that.
Thank you. We have many seconds. I heard Vinnie Valenti, the loudest on that one. Thank you, Mr. Valenti. And do we have any further discussion in reference to this well to be allowed to be drilled on 14 Delta, Old Lyme, Connecticut? If not, I'm sorry, Mr. Nachbar, sorry.
Just something we might add to the motion, that there are exceptions that no construction or expansion of the property can be allowed, just like for septic exception. The wording when they give the well exception for a septic when it's too close, that you can't expand the house, can't expand the footprint of the house.
I think that might be, I don't think the plumbing board has any say on expandability of a septic system or a house for that matter. I don't think the plumbing board has the right to tell people, you know, I mean, if they want to go the other side of their house on the other distance, they should be allowed as long as they meet the local zoning regulations. I don't know why the plumbing board would have any say in that.
It's just that it's not a code compliant arrangement. But if you feel that's unacceptable, I withdraw my suggestion.
I don't know how I would answer a zoning question because it's not our privy. That's really, I mean, if we're giving a potable water situation, I think once that's done, and then now the town in the future looks to expand the guy's home or a bedroom or a living room or something, I just don't feel as though the plumbing board, I mean, maybe the AG could share what his thoughts are, because obviously he's representing us here today. Maybe he could expand on that. Again, I'm not an expert in zoning, but maybe he could shed light on that.
I don't have any opinion on that. I don't know if the property is conforming or non-conforming. I don't know what the setbacks are. I don't know what the limitations are. There's just a
Right.
lot of things in there.
Exactly. I think for today, if we can
Okay.
provide
That's
proper
beyond scope.
drinking water. Okay. Jay, you had a question, sir.
Yeah, I mean, based on Mr. Nakbar, could we amend it just to say the septic system could not be expanded upon?
I think that's a Department of Health question again,
Okay.
Jay. It's
Very good.
it's out of our purview.
I kind of agree with you, Chuck. Yep.
I don't want to act above and beyond what we are capable and knowledgeable about doing. It's just not our place to be there. That's what they have engineers for, site
Yes.
plan, towns, health districts, building departments. I don't want to zoning. I don't want to step out of our.
It would certainly be looked at the time when they decide to expand anyway, and that would be out of our
Exactly.
realm. So
Exactly.
I'm going to keep my motion as is.
Great. Thank you, sir. And thank you for the motion. All in favor of Jay's motion, say aye.
Mr. Appleby, I have just one quick question, Mr. Appleby.
Okay. Oh, Lance. Thank you, Lance. Yes, please.
Just out of curiosity, or can it be added to the motion that approval is based on confirmation of existing neighbors' septic and well? I see it shown here in the town's as-built, but is there a confirmation of those locations prior to drilling a new well?
That might be a
That is
question
part of the
for
well driller's process.
Thank you. Does that suffice, Mr. Hall?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we can go ahead and vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously passed. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So at this point, where does it go from here, right? We all want to know. So Karen, you've got your hand up. Thank you.
Yes, can you just confirm who seconded the motion?
Vinnie Valenti.
Okay, so it's Jay and Vinny and it's unanimous. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Karen. Mr. Rodriguez, on behalf of the board, it's a privilege to have you here. Thank all the powers to be that allow you the time in such short notice to be here for the department plumbing board. And thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure.
Okay, so we need to know where it's going to go. So at this point, we do have Cynthia Fernandez here, an attorney for the state. We also have Pamela Brown, an attorney for the state, our lead investigator. And Jay's off. Okay, so obviously we'll follow up with this and see where it goes. We'll, we're going to follow the same protocol as we did back in 17, as Jay had said in his motion, and we're going to go get these people some drinking water sooner than later. Once Mr. Seema gets his approval, we'll keep everybody in the next board meeting apprised of everything. Mr. Nakbar could follow up with the Seemas and see where they stand with everything. Make sure there's nothing in the way, and that it gets done rather fast for this family before we go into the summer months and a severe drought again, which is happening in Connecticut. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bowman.
do we have anything to come before the board?
That's,
Anything
is there
else? or
anything
is
else?
that it?
I believe everything that's on your agenda has been discussed today. I don't believe there's anything else at this time. There was some discussion about some language, but going forward for a renewal process in CEU, but it did not make this meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Beautiful. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for taking your time out. Hi, Pam. We saw Pam there for a minute. There she is.
Hi there.
Morning.
Thanks, Pam.
Everybody
Hey,
have a
Pam.
good day.
You
Pam?
too. I'm glad we could get this family